Alright, so I'm making this video. I want to basically cover, just because we see church or religion that has nothing to do with the Bible, okay? This is not new. Every powerful nation in the past has used some form of idolatry, aka religion. Idolatry and religion are synonymous. I'm going to show an example in one of my favorite books, the book of Daniel. Now, Daniel chapter 2, because I want to save a lot of time, because I want to cover a lot of stuff, okay? Well, it'll be a lot to certain people. It's really not a lot to me, but in Daniel chapter 2, we see that Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel are having a conversation about a dream that King Nebuchadnezzar had. We see thy dream right here, and thy visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. Daniel's going to give an interpretation. I don't know why I said that like that, but Daniel's going to give an interpretation. This is the sum of the interpretation as we go to verse 31. It said, this is Daniel talking. You, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. He's telling him what he saw. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. So the key thing here is that this is a great image. This does not get covered usually when people talk about this. This great image, as we're going to show, is idolatry to Israel. It's not idolatry to Babylonians and all these other nations. It's only idolatry to Israel, but Israel's basically succumb to Babylonians. But let's finish this out. Verse 32. This image's head was of fine gold, his breasts and his arms of silver, his belly, his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. We've read this time and time again. I actually have a series on this as it runs parallel with Daniel chapter 7, the four beasts, the lion with the eagle's wings, the bear, the leopard, and the horns, and the fourth beast. They are the same nations as we continue. So as we continue, we're going to scroll down a little bit. We're going to see what's going on here. Verse 36 says, this is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. You, O king, are a king of kings. We're going to jump down because I want to save time right here. I have this highlighted also, in this color coordinated for the slow. I usually try to do that so people can keep up. It says, you are this head of gold. So when we see the head of gold in the breakdown, this image's head was a fine gold. Well, right here, Daniel does not leave us hanging. He says, you are this head of gold. This is in writing. This is evidence, proof that he's the head of gold. Let's continue. Verse 39. And after you shall arise another kingdom inferior to you. So these different levels of metal, gold, silver, brass, etc., are kingdoms. We see that Nebuchadnezzar's the king of the first one, which is Babylon. Then there's an inferior kingdom, and in another, and in another, and so forth and so on. Now, as we go back up, because I don't want to leave a stone unturned. So right here it says great image. Now I said that this was idolatry to Israel. Now I have to prove it, because that's what I do. A lot of people will just say things. Oh, Babylon is this, basically guessing. But here I like to show, as I've just shown, that the head of gold was King Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. I have to show how this great image that we just read in the first place, before we even break those things down, you have to know the function of the great image and how it's idolatry to Israel. As we go to Deuteronomy 4 and 16, it says, lest you, now this is given to Israel, this is the Torah, lest you corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female. It's a graven image. Idolatry. So as we go back to Daniel, this was a preset before we even go to Daniel. Okay, we're going to go back to Daniel. That's why it's not a sin for Babylonians to create a great image. The commandments were not given to them not to do this. So as we move forward, we're going to move over to chapter 3, verse 7. Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sounds of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and all kinds of music, all the people, the nations, plural, including Israel, and the languages fell down and worshiped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar, the king, had set up. Remember, that's the same king. You, king, are this head of gold. Okay, so this is a nation's form of religion, and they have multiple nations falling down to worship this image. We're going to jump down again to verse 10. It says, "You, our king, has made a decree that every man that shall hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackcloth, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image." Israel was not excluded from this. This is where we get the three holy children. Nah, I'm not falling down and worshiping that foolishness, because they knew that in Deuteronomy 4 and 16 that we just read, this is idolatry to us. That's for y'all heathen. We're not about that life. So I'm going to go back to our starting point. We see that this great image was made by Babylon. The king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, he was the head of gold. We also saw that right below here, it directly expresses that there's going to be more inferior kingdoms, more and more, basically 4 kingdoms. You are this head of gold, and after you shall arise another. Okay. This other we know is Persia. Now we know this. Well, I'm gonna say we speculate this, but how do we know this? Because we need evidence as proof. I'm saying that because I just made a video, because a lot of people think because somebody says something on YouTube, they think that that is proof. If you don't read it in here, like for example, you are this head of gold, it doesn't get that much clearer to know that the you here is King Nebuchadnezzar. That's written evidence, which is proof. We need written evidence to show the inferior kingdom. Okay, we're going to jump down to chapter 5. Here we go from the top. So 5 from the top. So we see Belshazzar is the king. But where did this guy come from? Let's read and find out. Made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords and drank wine, blah, 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 blah. Verse 2. Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple. Okay, so this is a father and son kingdom. This is 2 kings. That's important also. So that's how we see how the younger came into power after his father. Okay, his father got knocked down in chapter 4. That's, I'm not getting into that. Like I say, I know this whole book, but I know people have short attention spans. I want to get right to the point. So Belshazzar is in power now. So that's where we're going to see things transition as we go over basically to the end of this chapter. I just wanted to show why there's another name there, because I don't want to leave a stone unturned and people's, oh, you making up stuff. People just love to lie on people, but they don't study they damn self. So I'm going to go to verse 28. It says, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Okay, so these words were spoken to Belshazzar because he's now the king. And you see the color. Remember, I have this color coordinated for the slow. We're going to go to verse 30. And that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, Babylon, Assyria. He was slain. That's important too, how he was killed. And Darius the Mede took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. This is the inferior kingdom, shifting from the head of gold to the arms, the chest and arms of silver, because this is the next inferior kingdom. Well, it keeps going as we transition forward. These are all idolatrous nations. We're going to go to the Maccabees. Where are you? Right here. From the top. Maccabees from the top. And it happened after that. Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim. Now, Kittim and Macedonian are not nationalities. I know people think that they are, but they are only the names of lands or cities. It says it clear as day, the land of Kittim. Macedonia is a city. It is not a nationality. Okay, but let's continue. Has smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes. Well, we just saw him come into power. He killed the Babylonian king, so now he's being killed. You see this? That he reigned in his stead instead of him, the first over Greece. So now we have the Greeks. This is your leopard here. We go from the lion to the bear. This is basically like a football matchup. You have your Babylonian lions versus your Persian bears. The Persian bears beat the lions. Well, now the Grecian leopards are defeating the Persian bears. It's a good way to put that. This is also color coordinate. It's in writing. You can't lie and say I'm making something up when you can see it for yourself. Okay, let's continue. So it's just different nations subsequently coming into power. Subsequently coming in. Woo-dee woo woo woo. So there's one more. So we're going to go. We're in Maccabees. We're just going to slide and glide down to chapter 8. So here we are. Go away. I did not. So first Maccabees 8 from the top. Now Judas heard of the Romans. That's who this is talking about. The Romans, from the top of chapter 8 all the way in through. That they, the Romans, were mighty and valiant men, and such would lovingly accept all that join themselves unto them, and make a league of amity with all that came unto them. Now, so basically Rome absorbed every single nation they conquered. That's the summary, going all the way down into what we're about. No, let's not do that yet. So as we continue, this is all going into, man, the Romans did this, the Romans did that. They just riding their coattails. So verse 9, moreover, how the Grecians, remember these are the same Grecians that we just saw come into power. These are the same Grecians that defeated the Medes and the Persians king, had determined to come and destroy them. This is the Romans. The them there is the Romans, because that's who Judah Maccabees is talking about. So verse 10, and that they, the Romans, having knowledge thereof, sinned against them, the Greeks, a certain captain, and fighting with them slew many of them, the Greeks, and carried away captives their wives and their children, and spoiled them, and took possession of their lands, and put down their strongholds, and brought them to be their servants until this day. So this is your horns, if you will, or we're dealing with the metals in this one. So this is your iron conquering your belly and thighs of brass. This is the next inferior kingdom. So as we continue, we have to see how this iron is going to mix with clay. So right here in verse 17, in consideration of these things, Judas chose Eupolemus, the son of John, and the son of Achaz, and Jason, the son of Eleazar, and sent them to Rome to do what? Let's see. To make a league of amity and confederacy with them. This is the identified subsequent kingdom, the iron, and then we have Israel going to the iron to be mingled. Okay, Verse 18, and to entreat them that they would take the yoke from them. And they saw that the kingdom of the Grecians did oppress Israel with servitude, because that was the third metal, belly and thighs. Verse 19, they went therefore to Rome, which was a very great, okay. Verse 20, punchline. Judah Maccabeus with his brethren and the people of the Jews have sent us to you to make a confederacy in peace with you, Rome, and that we might be registered your confederates and friends. 21. So the Romans are going to seal up the deal with this. So that matter pleased the Romans well. So they was cool with it. They rock with it. So that you have the Romans, which is your iron, the subsequent kingdom to the Greeks. Remember, this is all subsequent to each other. You can't say I'm filling in something when you're reading one kingdom taking over another subsequently in writing, evidence as proof. Okay, the only thing that has yet to be proven is, man, how you gonna say Israel is the clay? And man, I heard that was West and East of Rome. Woody woo, you got an agenda, man. Let's see. Jeremiah 18:6. O house of Israel, still color coordinated for the slow. Cannot I do with you as this potter, says the Lord? Behold, as the clay is in the potter's hands, so are you in my hands. Israel's being called the clay, O house of Israel. So as we go back, I want to go to Daniel. We already saw the Maccabees account in chapter 8. Let's go back to Daniel. Booyah. We've hit this great image that's basically transcending different nations, which we've identified in writing, not just me saying like most people do lazily, oh man, that's the Greeks, that's the Romans, that's blah blah blah. I showed you that it's Babylon. I showed the next inferior kingdom was Persia, Darius and them. I showed the next kingdom, the Greeks defeating Darius and the Persians. I showed then the Romans defeating. I showed. I actually showed how Israel's the potter clay, which people lie and say it's East and West. People lie and Holy Rome is not. There was nothing ever holy about Rome, which I don't know where they get that nonsense. But and each nation has their own idolatry or religion. You know, we know historically that there was Roman gods, you know, Zeus and Greece and all blah blah yakety smack, and Israel was slaves or servants to each nation. Going down into today, this is the point of this lesson. You know, this Jesus stuff in these churches is not what the book is. It has nothing to do with actual Israel. Israel going to these institutions is just like Israel and Babylon worshiping that big great image. It's just another nation's idol. That's the point of this lesson. Okay. That's why we have to be careful, just because I don't even know why people associate the Bible with religion when we've just gone over the Bible is against religion. It's just idolatry to take you away, to take the children of Israel away from following the law. We just read the law in 4 and 16 of Deuteronomy. Don't make any graven images or worship them. What is Israel doing amongst these nations? Worshiping, craving it. This is very ABC 1, 2, 3. So I think I made my point. This actually goes on more and more, but I've already done a series on this stuff. I have a Daniel series that actually goes more in depth. I just wanted to do a quick in and out show the transcending nations and how this, what doesn't get touched is that this, in the first place, this image is an idol. You know, that connects to today after Rome. We get, after that, fall of Babel and all of that, you get the Gog and Magog. This is all European idolatry. I guess that's really it. All I have to cover. That's all for now as it is written, and I'm out.